gonna come with vocab ain't gonna be able to call this line without getting the permission from a black man, from an Hispanic man. He ain't gonna be able to get his water without getting permission.
I saw this Facebook post from Dante Fortson, which read as follows. Eric Mason, why didn't you call out Vocab Malone for writing a slavery parody, a quote-unquote whole song, as he says out of his own mouth, and then asking a black man to sing it for his amusement? Didn't your book mention confronting racism? Let's see you confront that racism within your own organization, or at least tell us what you personally find funny and Christ-like about slavery. You are being held accountable. And at the end of that post, he shared this video from March of 2018 titled Vocab Malone and Jay the Producer Think Slavery is Funny. That's a rather heavy charge, and therefore I'd like to show a relevant excerpt from the video which he shared.
Right now, but check it out. I wrote a parody to something, bro. I think that this thing's hilarious. I'm going to see if you're down to do it, and I'm going to make a video out of this joint. You know that song by Miley Cyrus, Party in the USA?
Yeah.
Yo, slavery in the USA, bro. Slavery in the USA, bro. Slavery in the USA, bro.
Oh, man.
I got a whole song, man. And I can't sing it.
Talk about that one off air.
Dante Fortson, among others, assumed that in that clip, Vocab Malone was mocking the history of slavery which had happened in the United States. And on a certain level, I can understand how one might reach that conclusion when looking at that clip in a vacuum. However, I have some personal insight into this, as I know the story behind what Vocab was referring to, precisely because around that time in early 2018, he had discussed his idea about the parody with different people. And it turns out that he was not referring to the slavery which had already happened in the United States from the 17th to 19th centuries. Rather, he was referring to a hypothetical or fantasized future slavery which exists within the eschatology of certain One West groups. You see, Vocab Malone, among other Christian apologists who deal with Israelites, has often been told by certain One Westers that in the future he's going to be their slave. And it's that sort of future One Wester, UPKer, eschatological slavery in America that he was talking about writing a parody of.
This is why I want white people in the kingdom. This is why I want Africans in the kingdom. Because I'm not picking no grapes. And we're going to take y'all as captive.
One would understand what Vocab was actually referring to if they saw the actual parody video, which came out a few months later, in the summer of 2018. So I'd like to play a relevant clip from that video.
Free is coming to America. That's right. And you, black man, you gonna own slaves. That's right. You Hispanic man and Native Indian man, you are going to own slaves. That's right. You are gonna make them pick your cotton. That's right. You are gonna make them shine your shoes. That's right. You're gonna make them mop your floor. Right. And you are gonna work them like dogs. That's right. To God's people, man.
I would hope that it's obvious from that clip what sort of slavery in America he was talking about writing a parody of. He was writing a parody of the sort of slavery which certain One West groups fantasize about, and you may notice that he himself, or a depiction or caricature of himself, appeared in the sort of cartoon of that video, where he's depicted as a slave of one of the members of one of these One West groups. However, Dante Fortson was not impressed when this was presented to him, and he argued that the way it turned out in the video was sort of a cleaned up version, that he sort of diverged from what his original idea was. In short, Dante Fortson is assuming the worst. He's assuming still that Vocab must have initially intended to mock the actual history of slavery in the United States, which took place prior to the 20th century, and not that he intended to refer to the sort of imaginary future slavery that certain groups hope for and dream of.
Honorable for me to want to put you in your place and make my coffee, as you said. Right. You're going to be happy to make my coffee because you're going to want to live. God wants you in chains. Triumphalism.
Therefore, I'd like to turn to an old post in Vocab's own Facebook forum. So I'm going to hit the search key here, and I'm going to type in Vocab Malone, which is Vocab's handle on Facebook, and I'm also going to put slavery and parody. And we'll do a search for these terms within his Facebook forum. So the post that I want to go to is this one, also from March of 2018. So I'll zoom in on the date here so you can see this. Notice it's March 24th of 2018. It was right around the same time. It's actually before the video that Dante Fortson appealed to. So Vocab there wrote, ISUPK hypocrisy alert. They claim the title of my upcoming parody video should have been Slavery in the Kingdom of Heaven because their doctrine is not about slavery in America. Well, here's a UPK false teacher at camp yelling, quote, slavery is coming to America, end quote. Oops, UPK messed up yet again. Don't worry, though, now I'm going to change the song title to Slavery in the UPK, parody of Party in the USA, instead. So to recap, regarding Vocab talking about writing a parody titled Slavery in the USA, there are two possibilities. The first is what I propose, which is that he was referring to the future slavery of UPK eschatology. The other possibility is what Dante Fortson and others assume, is that he was referring to the slavery which had actually already happened in the United States prior to the 20th century. So here are the reasons at the top of your screen to think that Vocab meant the future slavery of UPK eschatology. Number one, there's my own personal insight. I actually spoke to him about this subject in early 2018, so I know what he intended. But if you don't trust my word on that, a second reason is the actual parody video itself. There are depictions of slavery in that video, and they are the sort of slavery that exists within the fantasies of certain one-Westers, a future slavery that is part of their eschatology, in which people like Vocab Malone are their slaves. And then third, there's the explanation that Vocab gave back then in March of 2018, which we just looked at in an old post in his Facebook forum. So conversely, what are the reasons to think that the other possibility is the case, that Vocab was actually talking about mocking the slavery in America that existed prior to the 20th century? Well, honestly, it seems all there is are less than charitable assumptions. And that's why I said that a trend that I see in these bitter disagreements between Christian apologists and the what are called the moderate Hebrew Israelites, a trend that I see is assuming the worst. You know, I'm not trying to be disrespectful to Dante Fortson, but I think he didn't have any particular insight. Neither he nor other people who took this approach had any particular insight into Vocab's mindset, but they immediately opted for assuming the worst, when really, if one takes their time to look at what Vocab meant, they can see that he did not mean what they assumed he meant.
So pull your pants up, 2 cars are dancing, I'm gonna fly to the moon. I'm grabbing your girls